The jungle had swallowed the city long ago. Tall trees grew through broken towers, and vines covered the cracked walls. Nature had claimed everything but one sound, refused to fade: the cry of a baby. For 5 days, cries echoed through the ruins. Birds flew away. Small animals avoided the area. Even wild predators stayed back. Something about the sound felt unnatural. It's not just sad, but full of pain and loneliness. The baby didn't stop, not even for a moment. Deep under a collapsed stone bridge, buried beneath rubble and thick roots, an old escape pod blinked with faint lights. The door had been jammed shut for years. Inside, the air was thin but still breathable. A woman lay on the floor, her skin pale and smooth, with soft lines that glowed gently along her arms and face. Her eyes were closed. Her breathing was shallow. Next to her, wrapped in old cloth, was a small baby with large silver eyes and delicate antenna-like strands near her head. Her name was Lyri, daughter of the Alari princess Sarali. The child cried, reaching out with tiny hands toward the silent figure beside her. But there was no answer. Not from her mother. Not from anyone. In space, just outside the old war zone border, a small human scouting ship drifted through the stars. Inside, Private First Class Matthew Carter leaned back in his seat. He was bored. Scanning dead worlds for lost tech wasn't what he dreamed of when he signed up. But duty was duty. He stared at the monitor as it beeped. Then something odd popped up. A distress signal, very weak, very old. He tapped the screen. The signal repeated every 10 minutes, buried under layers of noise. The ID tag was from the Ilari Royal Fleet. Matthew sat up straight. "Hey," he called to his pilot, a quiet woman named Nora. "We just picked up something." "False alarm?" she asked. "Don't think so," he replied. "Royal Ilari code, not used in years." Nora frowned. "That empire's gone. No one's heard from them since the war." "Yeah, but the signal's still calling." After a pause, she nodded. "I'll log it. You want to check it out?" He looked at the screen again. Something inside him said yes. "Yeah, just a quick drop. If it's nothing, we leave." The ship entered the planet's orbit within the Our old records marked it as a safe world long agluge, warm, untouched by battle. But when they landed near the ruins, the air felt heavy. Matthew stepped out in full gear. The jungle was thick, the ruins silent. He checked his scanner. The signal came from the center of the city. He walked slowly, pushing aside vines and stepping over broken walls. Birds chirped in the distance. But the closer he got, the quieter it became. Then he heard a faint sound, almost too soft to catch. A cry. His heart beat faster. He turned off his scanner and followed the sound. "Hello!" he called out, unsure why there was no answer. He moved down a cracked stone path, entered a half-collapsed building, and then paused. Under the broken floor, something glowed faintly. Metal. Old tech. He climbed down slowly. When he got close, the sound was clear. A baby crying, he froze. "What the?" He knelt beside the rubble and began clearing it away, stone by stone. Finally, he found the top of a round metal hatchan escape pod. He tapped the surface. "Anyone in there?" The baby kept crying. He reached for the release handle. "Rusted. Stuck. Hang in there, little one," he said softly, using a small tool from his belt. He pried open the edge. Air hissed out. The door slid open just enough for him to squeeze inside. The light inside the pod flickered. The air smelled stale, and there, lying on the floor, was the child, so small, so tired, yet still crying with all her strength. Beside her was a woman. Tall, graceful, with silver hair and glowing marks on her skin. Matthew froze again. She's Ilari." His voice cracked. The child looked at him with wide silver eyes. For the first time, she paused. Just for a second. He stepped closer, crouched down, and gently picked her up. Her skin was warm, and her tiny hand held onto his shirt. Hey, I got you," he whispered. He checked the woman's weak pulse. But alive, You're the princess. You have to be. He touched the crest on her chest. A royal mark. He tapped his cum. Nora, it's real. I found someone, too. Actually, say again? Nora asked. An Alari princess and her baby. Alive. Silence. You sure? Positive. I'm bringing them out. But as he turned, a new sound filled the air, a loud mechanical hum behind him. Shadow moved. A tall metal figure stepped forward. Covered in dust and plant growth, its eyes glowed red. It raised a weapon. Matthew's hand went to his sidearm, but he didn't draw it. The robot aimed at him. I'm not your enemy, he said firmly, holding the baby tighter. The robot stepped forward, scanning him. Then it looked at the child, then back at him. Status. Unknown, it said in a robotic voice. Royal child. Confirmed. She's okay, Matthew said. I'm here to help. The robot's head tilted. Harm. No harm, Matthew said softly. I swear. Baby reached toward the robot and cooed. The red light in the robot's eyes flickered, then dimmed. Guardian protocol, it said. Follow protector. It lowered its weapon. Matthew let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding outside. The sunlight broke through the jungle canopy. The cries had stopped. For the first time in days, the air felt calm, and deep in his heart, Matthew knew this wasn't just a rescue. This was the beginning of something far bigger. Matthew moved carefully through the broken ruins, holding the baby in one arm and guiding the weak guardian robot with his other hand. Behind them, the escape pod's door now hung open, the stale air slowly mixing with the fresh jungle breeze. The cries had stopped, but the silence felt heavy, like the forest was waiting. The baby girl clung to him tightly, her small head resting against his chest. She had finally fallen asleep, but every little sound made her twitch. Matthew knew she had cried too long, too hard. She needed warmth, comfort, and care. He glanced back at the Alari princess, lying unconscious on the small hover stretcher. The guardian now pushed gently. Her silver hair flowed across her shoulder, and her skin shimmered faintly under the sunlight that filtered through the trees. Even in her fragile state, she looked strong in a quiet, peaceful way. Hang in there, Matthew whispered. We're getting you out of here. He tapped his cum. Nora, I've got both of them. Heading back now. Ready the med bay. Antel command, this is bigger than we thought. Her voice came through, calm but tense. Copy that. Sending coordinates. Shuttle will meet you halfway. And Matthew, good work. Not done yet, he replied. The jungle felt alive as he moved. Insects buzzed softly, and leaves rustled in the wind. Every now and then, he looked around, half expecting some beast to jump out. But the guardian beside him scanned the area constantly, ready to protect, as they crossed a narrow stone bridge. Matthew noticed something glowing in the bushes. He paused. The guardian stepped in front of him. Unknown tech signature detected, it said in a flat voice. He crouched and pushed the leaves aside. Small, round device blinked red, a tracker dot. His stomach dropped. They're being hunted. He muttered. He picked up the device and crushed it under his boot. We need to move faster. The group hurried through the ruins. Matthew led the way, the baby still asleep in his arms, her breathing soft. The guardian followed without question. Every few minutes, he checked the princess's vitals. Her heart beat slow but steady. Finally, through the trees. They saw the shuttler's sleek silver craft with the human flag on its side. The ramp was already open. Nora stood there, her hand raised. We've got company in orbit, she called. Out, a few unknown ships, just outside scanner range. No signals, no answers. And we don't wait, Matthew said. He climbed the ramp, stepping into the cool air of the shuttle. Nora helped lift the princess onto a medbed. The guardian remained outside, guarding the entrance silently. Is that thing safe? She asked, nodding at the robot. For now, Matthew said. It knows the baby trusts me. That's enough. Shuttle lifted off quickly, heading into the upper sky. Matthew sat beside the medbed, gently placing the baby in a soft blanket. Nora handled the controls, glancing back every so often. You think she's really the last princess? She asked. Sure of it, Matthew said. The crest, the guardian, the signalet, all fits. And the baby's her daughter. Probably born right before the war ended? Nora nodded slowly. Command's going to lose their minds. Should, Matthew said. This isn't just a rescue. This changes everything. Back on the ship, doctors rushed in as soon. As the shuttle docked, the medbay filled with soft beeps and voices. They checked the baby first underweight, dehydrated but alive. Then they turned to the princess. Matthew stayed nearby, not leaving her side. We'll do everything we can, the lead medic said. But she's in stasis shock. Body needs time. He nodded. Just keep her stable. Hours passed. The ship drifted quietly through space, hidden from the unknown ships still nearby. Matthew sat alone in the observation room, holding the now sleeping baby again. The stars outside glowed softly. He looked down at her tiny face. Your name is Leary, right? He whispered. I don't know much about your people, but I promise no one's going to hurt you again. The door slid open. Nora entered, carrying a tablet. You need to see this, she said. Matthew took the tablet and read the report. Command had confirmed the royal crest. Old images matched the princess's face. It was her Princess Sorali of the Alari Empire. Long believed, dead, and the baby. Born in hiding, unknown to the galaxy. They want to transfer her to a secure council station, Nora said. For safety. Matthew shook his head. No, the council let her people fall. We keep her with us. Earth has better med tech anyway. Command agrees for now, she said. But others are watching. He stared out at the stars again. They'll come for her. Yes, Nora said softly. But they'll have to go through us first. Suddenly, the lights flickered. An alarm beeped. Incoming ship, a voice called out over the intercom. No ID tag. Closing fast. Matthew stood up. Stay with the baby, he told Nora. I'll check the bridge. He ran through the halls, past crew members rushing to stations. The bridge was filled with tension. On the main screen, a dark ship appeared, long and sharp, like a blade drifting through space. They're not responding to hails, the captain said, but they're scanning us. Matthew clenched his fists. They know she's here. Screen blinked. A message came through. No video, just words. Surrender the child. Everyone on the bridge fell silent. The captain looked at Matthew. Your call, you brought her here. Matthew's voice was steady. Don't give up. Children, not now, not ever. The message blinked again. You will regret this. The screen went dark. The enemy ship didn't fire. It's not yet. It hovered like a silent warning outside the human vessel, close enough to be seen, but far enough to not trigger defense systems. On the bridge, every screen showed the unknown ship and every crew member. Weighted Captain Lewis stood firm, arms crossed, staring at the display. Matthew leaned forward. They want the baby. Can't let them have her. We won't, the captain replied. But we need to understand who they are. This isn't a pirate ship. It's too well made. Too quiet. A tech officer turned from her station. They're using a shielded energy core. No standard engine signature. Could be mercenary or secret military. Matthew frowned. Or council-backed. The captain nodded. Possibly. Especially if they know who the baby is. Matthew's thoughts raced. The princess was still unconscious in the medbay, and baby Leary had only just begun to settle down again. She had already survived too much. He couldn't let anything else happen to her. Send a false data burst, the captain ordered. Make it look like we've already launched an escape pod. See if they take the bait. The officer nodded, sending now. Outside the ship, a fake signal activated. An empty pod launched, flying away into space. For a few moments, nothing. Happened then? The enemy ship shifted course. They're chasing it, tech officer said. Good, Captain, Lewis said. Get us out of here now. Ship's engines roared to life, turning away from the enemy's path. In seconds, the stars blurred, and the ship jumped into faster-than-light travel. Matthew let out a breath of relief. That won't fool them for long. We just need time, the captain said. Get back to the medbay. Stay with them. Matthew nodded and left the bridge quickly. As he moved through the halls, Crew members looked at him with curious eyes. News had already spread. Alien baby, a royal, saved from a dead world. He reached the medbay and stepped inside quietly. The room was dim and calm. Soft lights glowed near the ceiling. Baby Leary slept in a small enclosed pod, wrapped in warm blankets, while the doctors watched her vitals. The guardian robot stood near the door, unmoving but alert. And beside them. The princess finally stirred. Matthew stepped closer. Her eyes fluttered open, silver, soft, and filled with confusion. "You're awake," he said gently. Her gaze found him. She blinked slowly, her lips dry. She tried to speak but couldn't form the words. "Don't push yourself," he added. "You're safe." She looked around, clearly trying to understand where she was. When her eyes fell on the baby, her expression changed. Her lips moved again. "Leary," she whispered, voice dry and cracked. Matthew nodded. "She's okay. She cried for days, but she's strong. She held on until I found you." Tears welled in the princess's eyes. She reached out weakly, her hand trembling. Matthew helped her sit up a little so she could touch the pod. The baby stirred at her mother's presence. "You're among humans." "Now," Matthew said, "we're helping you. Your guardian protected you until we arrived." She looked at the robot, then back at Matthew. Her lips moved slowly. "Thank you." Soldier, he smiled. "My name's Matthew. And you're Princess Sorelli, right?" She gave a small nod. "You were declared dead after the last war," he said. "But now you're here. And everything is about to change." She looked down, her face darkening. "My people. Gone. Maybe. But you're not." "Neither is she," he said, nodding at Lear. The door opened and Captain Lewis stepped in, gave a respectful nod. "Your Highness. Time." "Lewis, we're honored to have you." Sorelli looked at him, unsure. "We won't let anyone take you," the captain said firmly. "Others are trying. Someone knew you were still alive. They sent a ship to find you." Her eyes narrowed. "The Council?" "We think so," Lewis said. "They haven't said anything directly, but the ship's design. Not random. They're watching." She closed her eyes, feared the Alari would rise again. "They were wrong.
Ow.
We didn't want war. They forced it. We believe you," Lewis said, "and we'll stand with you." "Happened back then? How did you end up on that planet?" Sorelli took a slow breath. Her voice was weak, but steady. "Our fleet was broken. We tried to flee. I was with the last group of civilians. Our ship was hit. My guardian pulled me into the pod, and it launched. I gave birth alone, underground, no food, no help, just her and me." Matthew clenched his fists. "I did everything to keep her alive." She nodded. "She's all I have." He smiled gently. "Not anymore." Sorrel looked at him, her eyes soft. "Why would your people help us?" "Because we don't leave children behind," Matthew said. "And because we don't like bullies." The captain grinned. "That's true." Suddenly, the intercom buzzed. "Captain," a voice said, "another ship is coming. Not hostile. It's broadcasting an Earth fleet signal." Lewis raised an eyebrow. "Our backup." They all moved to the observation window. Outside, a large human battleship dropped out of lightspeed. Strong, dark, and proud. Its name lit up in blue across the hull. HSS Courage. Sorelli stared at it, in her eyes. "Your people are strong," she said. "So are yours," Matthew replied. A message came through. A human ambassador wanted to speak with the princess. Sorelli agreed, but only if Matthew stayed by her side. He did. The ambassador appeared on the screen, respectful and kind. He promised that humanity would protect her and her daughter. It would not be handed over. They would be honored. As the call ended, Sorelli looked at Matthew once more. "You're different." She said, "You're kind, maybe," Matthew said, smiling. "But we're your allies now." Outside, the stars glowed, and the fleet moved forward, not to run, but to protect. The human fleet moved quietly through space, forming a protective circle around the ship carrying Sorelli and baby Leary. The HSS Courage stood like a shield, its weapons ready, its crew alert. No one said it, but everyone felt it something big had begun. Inside the medical bay, Sorelli sat up fully for the first time. Her strength was returning little by little. Baby Leary was in her arms, quiet and warm, her silver eyes blinking softly as she stared at her mother's face. Matthew stood nearby, watching them with quiet respect. He had seen many things during his service, but nothing like this. A lost princess, a crying child, and now, a moment of peace. "She smiles more now," Matthew said, nodding at the baby. Ser Ali looked down and smiled softly. "She feels safe. Children know when danger has passed." "Maybe," Matthew said, "or maybe she knows her mother's awake now." Darlie touched the baby's cheek gently. "You saved her. And me." "We just followed the signal," Matthew replied. "But you listened to it," she said. "Others would have ignored it." Before Matthew could answer, the door opened and Captain Lewis entered. His face was calm, but his voice was firm. "Princess Sorelli," he said, "we've received a new message. The Galactic Council has issued a public statement." Matthew frowned. "What did they say?" Lewis handed over a tablet. Sorelli read it slowly. "We have received unconfirmed reports of an Alari survivor. If this is true, for the safety of all species, the individual must be handed over for examination and protection." She looked up. "Examination, protection. They fear me, yes," Lewis said. "They fear what you represent." "I am not a weapon," she said quietly. "No," Matthew said, "you're something more powerful. You're hope and truth." Sorelli looked at them both. "If I speak, they will listen, but only if I reach them first." Lewis nodded. "We agree. The ambassador wants to bring you to the Human Alliance base. It's neutral territory, a safe place. You can speak from there." "Hey." Sorelli stood slowly, holding Leary close. "Then take me there." The journey to the Alliance base took 2 days. During that time, the story of the rescued princess began to spread. Whispers grew into reports, and soon the whole galaxy knew. Some were shocked, others were angry. Many were afraid, but some were filled with wonder. On the base, news crews gathered behind closed walls. Security tightened. Human diplomats stood tall beside their allies. And in the center of it all, Princess Sorelli stood with Leary in her arms and Matthew beside her. The council representatives arrived through private channels. Not all of them, but enough. Their faces were tense, their questions sharp. "How did you survive?" one asked. "Why did you remain hidden?" another demanded. "What proof do you have that your child is royal?" a third said. Sorelli stood calmly. "I did not hide. I was lost, forgotten. While my people were destroyed, I gave birth in silence, hoping my daughter would see a better galaxy." The baby stirred in her arms, cooing softly. A few council members shifted in their seats. "And now," the head speaker asked, "what do you want?" Sorelli looked around the room. "Truth. The truth that we were not the enemy. That we were hunted not for power, but for fear. We wished only to grow in peace. And when we fled, you chased us." Silence filled the hall. Then Matthew stepped forward. "She's not here to start war. But if you try to silence her, we won't allow it. Humanity stands with her." The head speaker narrowed his eyes. "This is dangerous, emotional, not political." "No," Matthew said. "It's right." The room fell quiet again. Finally, the head speaker spoke. "You may speak, publicly. But if unrest follows, it will be on your heads." Sorelli bowed. "Thank you." The next day, the broadcast began. Across hundreds of worlds, screens flickered on. Citizens of every species paused. They expected anger or fear or demands. Instead, they saw a tired but strong alien woman holding a baby. They saw her eyes kind and sad, and they listened. "I am Sorelli, daughter of Alari, survivor of the Lost Empire," she began. "I bring no threat. I seek no revenge. I come only to speak. We were not perfect, but we were not cruel. We did not deserve to vanish. She told the story of her escape, her lonely days hiding, her baby's birth, the cries in the dark, the silence that followed, until a human came, she said. It's not a king, not a hero, just a soldier. He heard a cry and answered. Matthew stood in the background, silent. We live, Sorelli said. And because of that, the truth lives. When the broadcast ended, the galaxy was silent. Then, everything changed. On neutral planets, people gathered in peace. Messages poured in. Some offered support, some asked questions. Some apologized. Few ships even flew banners with both the human and Alari symbol side by side. But not everyone was pleased deep in hidden corners. Old enemies whispered again. Someone, somewhere, sent a message. Terminate the child. Erase the symbol. Back on the human ship, Matthew trained in the combat bay, running drills alone. He knew things wouldn't stay quiet for long. Too many eyes were now watching the baby. Too many feared what she might become. Sir Ali entered quietly, holding Leary. You're preparing? She said. He nodded. Always. She stepped closer. You could have left us behind. I couldn't, he said. It didn't feel right.
Oh. You've
given us more than safety, she said. You gave us a future. He looked at her, then at the baby. Then I'll protect it, he said softly, no matter what. And outside, in the silence of space, something moved in the dark watching, waiting. The days that followed the broadcast felt different. In many parts of the galaxy, something shifted. On human colonies and neutral planets, people began speaking the name Sorelli with respect. News channels showed images of her holding baby, Leary, standing beside Matthew in the human fleet. But behind closed doors, others were making darker plans. In the hidden chambers of a war-born faction called the Draenari, 5 figures watched the broadcast again. They weren't part of the council, but they had powerful influence. They had built their strength during the Alari War, profiting from destruction. She cannot be allowed to rise, one figure said. The child is the key, another whispered. Erase the child, and the fire goes out. They sent a single. Command across encrypted channels. Strike silently. Leave no trace. Meanwhile, on the human flagship, HSS Courage, Matthew and Sorelli met with Captain Lewis and the lead security officers. The room was quiet, heavy with tension. We've picked up strange movement near Sector 4, Lewis said. Small ships, cloaked. Fast? Pirates? Matthew asked. No, too quiet, too focused, Lewis replied. Sorelli stood beside them, calm but alert. Leary was sleeping in the private quarters with her guardian robot watching over her. There, coming for her, Sorelli said. They don't fear me. They fear what she might become. Matthew nodded. We won't let them near her. Lewis turned to the security team. Double all watch stations? No one goes near the royal chamber without my approval. Yes, sir. Later that night, the ship drifted silently. The stars outside blinked, like distant candles. Inside her room, Sorelli sat beside the cradle, watching her daughter sleep. She touched the child's tiny hand gently. You don't know what you are to them, she whispered. But to me, you are everything. The guardian stood nearby, still and quiet. Then, without warning, its eyes turned red. Alert, it said. Unauthorized movement. Approaching door, Sorelli stood quickly. Matthew, she called through the room. Come. Across the ship, Matthew was already moving. The alert had reached him too. He grabbed his gear, strapped on his vest, sprinted through the hall at the royal chamber door. 2 human guards were already down, unconscious, not dead, but close. The door lock blinked red. Someone was trying to force it open. Hold the door, Matthew shouted. The guardian inside activated its defense mode and shielded the cradle. Sorelli stood behind it, ready but worried. Matthew arrived seconds later. Just as the door opened a crack, a shadowy figure stepped in, cloaked, silent. Fast. Matthew tackled the intruder before he could get far. They rolled across the floor, throwing punches. The attacker moved like a ghost trained, deadly. But Matthew was stronger, fueled by purpose. He took a hit to the side but didn't fall. Sorelli pulled Leary close and back toward the corner. The Guardian stepped forward and fired a pulse beam. Missed the attacker but forced him back. Matthew rose to his feet. You picked the wrong. Shippy grabbed a metal bar from the floor and charged. The attacker tried to dodge, but the Guardian blocked the exit. Trapped, the intruder turned to escape through the ceiling vent. But Matthew caught his leg and pulled him down hard. With one final hit, the attacker fell unconscious. The room went silent, breathing heavily. Matthew looked at Sorelli. Are you? Okay, she nodded, holding Leary tightly. She's safe. The Guardian scanned the attacker and spoke. Not Council, Drenari Mark found. Matthew's face darkened. I know that name. They've been quiet for years. Lewis arrived with backup guards. He looked at the intruder and nodded grimly. This was just the first wave. They moved the prisoner to the brig. Scans showed hidden tools and poisons. A trained assassin, someone who had come only for one reason later. Matthew and Sorelli sat in a small observation room, Leary asleep between them. Why would they target a baby? Matthew asked quietly. Because she gives people something to believe in, Sorelli said. A future that doesn't belong to fear. Then we protect that future, Matthew replied. Sorelli looked at him with calm eyes. You already are, suddenly. A message appeared on the screen in front of them. It's from Earth's Central Command. High clearance. Urgent. Lewis opened it and read aloud. Princess Sorelli and her daughter are to be escorted to Earth. Human Alliance will grant full royal protection. She will address the United Worlds Assembly in 10 days. Sorelli blinked. Earth. Lewis nodded. Yes. They're not just protecting you now. They're standing with you fully. Matthew smiled. Looks like you're part of our family now. Sorelli held Leary close. Then we'll go together. The following days, the ship moved toward Earth space, surrounded by the full escort fleet. More ships joined every hour. Hundreds. Some human, some from allied planets. As they traveled, messages poured in from all corners of the galaxy. People wanted peace. They wanted truth, wanted change. And at the center of it all was a baby, who had once wept alone in the dark. She now smiled in the light, but far beyond the edge of human space. The Draenari leaders watched their screens. They're uniting. One of them said coldly. Another leaned forward. And we will break them. And we will start with her. The human fleet arrived near Earth just before sunrise. Dozens of ships moved in perfect formation, their engines glowing softly against the dark space. Behind them, the flagship HSS Courage carried something more valuable than weapons or gold. It carried hope. Princess Sorelli stood near the window of the observation deck, holding baby Leary in her arms. The Earth hung below like a blue jewel, quiet and peaceful. Leary's eyes sparkled as she stared at the planet for the first time. Your new home, Sorelli whispered to her daughter, and maybe your second beginning. Matthew stood beside them in full uniform. His chest badge had changed. It was now part of a special Earth Alliance security detail, one created just for the royal guests. He smiled at the view. Never thought a rescue mission would lead to this. Sorelli turned to him. You saved more than 2 lives that day, Matthew. You saved our story. The door slid open, and Captain Lewis entered with a calm but serious face. It's time. He said, the United Worlds Assembly is ready. You'll speak before all major leaders. Every channel across the galaxy is broadcasting. Sorelli nodded. I understand. Lewis looked at Matthew. I'll stay with her on the floor. Full. Guard detail. Our ships will monitor the skies. Any movement from hostile forces, and we respond. Yes, sir, Matthew said. The assembly chamber on Earth was massive, with tall glass walls showing the sky outside. Leaders from hundreds of species sat in quiet rows. Reporters watched through screens. Citizens across the stars tuned in. At the center of the hall, a clear platform waited. Matthew stood nearby, watching everything closely. Leary was with the royal guardian, safe behind a protective shield just off stage, when Princess Sorelli stepped forward. The hall fell completely silent. She wore a long robe with both the Ilari and human emblems joined together at her chest. Voice, when she spoke, was soft but clear. "I am not here to ask for pity," she said. "I am not here to demand revenge. I am here to remind this galaxy that we are still alive. Not just my people, but the idea that truth can survive even in the darkest places." She paused, letting her words settle. "My child cried for 5 days in the ruins of a forgotten city. No one came. No one answered, until one man, one human heard her." Eyes met Matthew's. He stood still, but his heart beat faster. That act of kindness saved us. And today, I ask for one more act, not for me, but for all those without a voice. Let us choose peace. Let us choose unity. Many in the crowd lowered their heads. Some wiped their eyes. Others remained still, thinking deeply. Sorelli stepped back slowly. Silence held for a long moment. Then, slowly, the leaders began to rise. One by one, then all together. A long, deep sound echoed through the chamber applause, mixed with voices of agreement. For the first time in years, the united world stood united again, but in space. The Draenari made their move. Just beyond the moon's dark side, 6 cloaked ships powered up. Small, fast, and loaded with weapons, they shot forward toward the planet. Their target wasn't Earth, it was the princess's shuttle parked on the landing ring. The plan was simple: create panic. Destroy the symbol, okay, and vanish before anyone could act. But humans were ready inside the command room of HSS Courage. Captain Lewis gave the order without hesitation. Defense net. Activate. Fleet. Engage. Within seconds, beams of light cut across space. The Draenari ships were fast, but not fast enough. The first ship was destroyed before it could even break through the outer shield. The second was hit by a drone swarm. Third tried to run but was caught in a gravity trap. Matthew received the alert in his earpiece just as the hall's alarm started. "We've got company," he shouted, stepping in front of Sorelli. But the room stayed calm. A screen appeared, showing the enemy ships being stopped by the fleet in real time. The crowd watched, stunned. One final ship made it past the defense line. It flew low, heading toward the assembly hall. "Incoming strike vessel," a voice yelled. Through the comm, Matthew pulled his weapon and stood ready. But then, something unexpected happened. The royal guardian stepped forward and raised its arm. From its wrist, a glowing shield formed in front of Sorelli and Leary. A second later, a human drone fired and hit the incoming ship dead center. It exploded in the sky above the city, bright but harmless. The people in the hall looked out through the glass walls, watching fire become light. And then, cheers. Cheers from humans, from aliens, from all corners of the chamber. Not because the danger was over, but because they had faced it dashed together. The next morning, the galaxy felt different. The Draenari threat was exposed and rejected by every major world. Messages of support flooded in. Peace talks began. The walls were lowered. On the edge of a quiet human garden near the ocean, Matthew sat with Sorelli and Leary. The waves crashed gently nearby. "Do you think they'll stop?" he asked. "The ones who fear change?" Sorelli shook her head. "No. But fewer will follow them now." Leary laughed, playing with a small flower. Her cheeks were bright, her silver eyes full of joy. Matthew watched her for a moment. "She doesn't remember crying in those ruins," "No," Sorelli said. "But she will remember growing in a world that gave her a second chance." She looked at Matthew, and she remembered the soldier who answered a cry. He smiled. "I'll always answer." Together they watched the sunrise, and across the stars. Where once there was silence, there was now a sound far stronger than crying hope.